You've heard it your entire life. Since you were old enough to understand words like future and success. Work hard. Buy a house. Build a stable life. Leave something better for your kids. That's the American dream. It's the story we tell ourselves about who we are as a nation. It's in our movies, our political speeches, our dinner table conversations. But what if I told you? This dream was never meant for everyone. Not because people failed. Not because they didn't try hard enough. Not because they made bad choices. But because the system itself was never designed to let everyone win. And once you see that, you can never unsee it. The American dream is deceptively simple. It says, no matter where you start, poor, immigrant, rural, broken family, you can rise. You can succeed. You can build something. It's a powerful idea. It gives people hope when they have nothing else. It keeps people moving when they want to quit. It's the reason millions of people came to this country, and the reason millions more stayed when leaving seemed easier. And for a brief window in history, it actually looked real. Let's talk about that window. After World War II, the United States emerged as the only major industrial power not destroyed by war. Europe was in rubble. Japan was rebuilding from ash. China was in revolution. And America? America had a massive manufacturing base running at full capacity, the strongest military in the world, a booming economy with almost no global competition, the GI Bill sending millions of veterans to college, government programs building highways, schools, and suburbs. Between 1945 and 1970, millions of families did exactly what the dream promised. They bought homes. They built wealth. They sent their kids to college. They retired with pensions. It felt like proof that the system worked. But here's the part that gets left out of the story. That version of America wasn't normal. It was an exception. A historical anomaly. Here's what most people never hear about the golden age of the American dream. It depended on very specific, non-replicable conditions. Let me break them down. Condition number 1. A post-war monopoly on global manufacturing. After World War II, the U.S. produced roughly 50% of the world's manufactured goods. 50%. That meant high-paying factory jobs where plentiful workers had leverage. Companies needed them. Unions were strong because labor was scarce. Wages rose consistently with productivity. This wasn't because America was smarter or worked harder. It was because everyone else was recovering from catastrophic war damage. Condition number 2. Cheap housing and government investment. The federal government actively subsidized homeownership through the GI Bill, zero-down mortgages for veterans, the Federal Housing Administration, FHA loans, massive highway construction, making suburbs accessible, tax incentives for mortgage interest. Housing was affordable because construction costs were low, land was abundant, interest rates were stable, and most critically, there were enormous government programs creating homeowners. But here's the ugly truth about those programs. Less than 2% went to non-white families. That means the wealth built through homeownership, the primary engine of middle-class wealth in America, was deliberately funneled to one group. Entire communities were locked out of the opportunity to build generational wealth. So when people say, the American dream worked, they're usually talking about a version of America where global competition didn't exist, government investment was massive, labor had leverage, and entire groups were excluded from participation. The dream looked universal, but it was never equally available. Then something happened. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen with one law or one election. It happened quietly, over decades. The deindustrialization of America. Starting in the 1970s, the factories started closing. Global competition returned. Japan rebuilt. Germany rebuilt. Then China started building. Companies realized they could manufacture cheaper overseas. Between 1970 and 2020, the U.S. lost over 7 million manufacturing jobs. Those weren't just jobs. They were the exact jobs that built the post-war middle class. Jobs that paid well. Jobs that provided benefits. Jobs that didn't require a college degree. Jobs that let one income support a family. Those jobs didn't come back. And they're never coming back. The cost explosion. As good jobs disappeared, the costs of the American dream kept rising. Housing. In 1960, the median home cost roughly 2.5 times the median household income. Today, it's over 5.5 times. In many major cities, it's 10 to 15 times. Rent has followed the same trajectory. Education. College tuition has increased by over 1,400% since 1970. Adjusted for inflation, student loan debt now exceeds $1.7 trillion. Spread across 45 million borrowers. What used to be a path to the middle class is now a debt trap. Healthcare. The average family spends over $20,000 per year on healthcare costs. That's more than food, more than housing in some states. Childcare. In 33 states, childcare costs more than in-state college tuition. Transportation. Car prices have tripled. Gas has doubled. Insurance has tripled. The cost of simply existing in America has skyrocketed, while wages have barely moved. The wage stagnation. Here's the number that explains everything. From 1947 to 1973, productivity rose 96%. Hourly wages rose 91%. From 1973 to 2023, productivity rose 77%. Hourly wages rose 17%. Productivity, how much value workers create, has kept climbing. But the benefits of that productivity have stopped going to workers. They've gone to shareholders, to executives, to corporate profits. The link between working harder and earning more has been broken. The safety net erosion. Pensions? Mostly gone. Union membership? Down from 35% of private sector workers in the 1950s to about 6% today. Employer-provided health insurance? Getting worse. More expensive. Less coverage. Social security? Weakening. The structures that made the original American dream possible have been systematically dismantled. But the story? The story stayed exactly the same. People were still told, just work hard. Pull yourself up. It's your responsibility. Even as the system stopped supporting that outcome. Let's talk about what the American dream looks like today. For real. Not in speeches. Not in nostalgia. Not in your grandfather's stories. Today, imagine a young person doing everything right. They graduate high school. They go to college, take out loans because they have to. They graduate with a degree and 35,000 in debt. They get a job, a good job, by modern standards, making 35,000 in debt. They get a job, a good job, by modern standards, making 55,000 a year. Here's what that person's budget looks like. Rent, $1,400 per month, national average for a one-bedroom. Student loans, $350 per month. Car payment plus insurance, $500 per month. Food, $400 per month. Healthcare, $250 per month after employer contribution. Utilities plus phone plus internet, $300/month. Gas/transportation, $150 per month. Minimum savings/emergency fund, $200 per month. That's $3,550 per month. After taxes, our hypothetical person brings home roughly $3,600 per month. They have $50 left over. For everything else. Clothes, entertainment, gifts, repairs, unexpected expenses. And this is someone who did everything right. They got the degree. They got the job. They're not making bad choices. They just can't get ahead. Now, imagine that person wants to buy a home. The median home price in America is around $420,000. With a 20% down payment, $84,000, a 30-year mortgage current testwood kostrovly operator 84000, a 30-year mortgage current testwood kostrovly operator 2, 800 per month ***. That's before taxes, before insurance, before maintenance. Our person would need to save $84,000 for a down payment, while living on $50 of disposable income per month. At that rate, it would take 140 years to save for a down payment. So they'll never own a home. They'll rent forever. They'll pay someone else's mortgage. They'll never build that generational wealth. And the dream says, you should have tried harder. Now multiply this person by 100 million Americans. That's where we are. You can do everything right. Get a degree. Work full-time. Stay consistent. Play by the rules. And still struggle to buy a home. Save money. Feel secure. Retire. Start a family. So what happens? People don't question the dream. They question themselves. This is where the illusion becomes truly powerful. Because when a system fails, but tells you it works, you don't blame the system. You blame yourself. This is called internalization. It's a psychological mechanism where people absorb the failures of their environment as personal inadequacy. Let me walk you through how it works. Step 1. You're told the rules. From childhood, you're taught. Work hard equals success, play by the rules equals reward, effort equals outcome. These aren't just ideas. They're moral frameworks. In this system, if you succeed, you're good. If you fail, you're lazy, stupid, or making bad choices. The system is neutral. The individual is responsible. Step 2. You follow the rules. You do exactly what you're told. You go to school. You get good grades. You take the job. You pay your bills. You delay gratification. You do everything right. Step 3. The rules don't work. Despite following the formula perfectly, you're still behind. You can't afford a house. You're drowning in debt. Your job doesn't pay enough. You feel like you're running on a treadmill that keeps getting faster. Step 4. You blame yourself. Because the system told you it works. And if it works, and you're not succeeding, then the problem must be you. I should have tried harder. I should have picked a better career. I should have saved more. I should have invested earlier. I made the wrong choices. I'm behind because of who I am. This is not an accident. This is a feature of the system, not a bug. The mass psychological effect. When millions of people are all feeling the same pressure, the same inadequacy, the same guilt, the same shame, that's not coincidence. It's structure. The American dream functions as a control mechanism. Keeps people working harder, even when wages are stagnant, consuming more to fill the emotional gap, staying in the system, because the alternative is admitting failure, blaming themselves, instead of questioning structures. Here's what the data shows. 77% of Americans say the American dream is harder to achieve than it was for their parents. Over 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Only 44% of Americans say they're very satisfied with their financial situation. Millions of people report feeling behind where they thought they'd be. But instead of looking at the economic structure, they look inward. I must not be good enough. And that's the tragedy. Because a generation of capable, hardworking people is suffering. Not because they're failing, but because they're being told a story that no longer matches reality. The American dream doesn't just describe reality. It shapes it. Let me explain what this idea actually does in the world. It legitimizes inequality. The success comes from hard work. Then wealth is deserved. And poverty is chosen. This is extraordinarily convenient for people at the top. If you're a billionaire in a system where 40 million people live in poverty, the American dream says, they didn't work hard enough. I worked harder. It allows extreme inequality to exist without challenging the system. Because if the system is fair, then unequal outcomes must reflect unequal effort. But here's the problem. The correlation between effort and outcome in America is among the weakest in the developed world. Your zip code at birth predicts your economic outcome better than your GPA, your work ethic, or your ambition. Social mobility in the US is lower than in Canada, Germany, France, Japan, Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Australia. The land of opportunity has less opportunity than most other wealthy nations. But the story doesn't say that. It encourages endless consumption. The American dream is tied to things. A house, a car, a TV, a newer house, a nicer car, a bigger TV. It's not just about security, it's about status. And status requires constant upgrading. This is great for the economy. It keeps people working. It keeps them spending. It keeps debt growing. It keeps the machine running. But it's terrible for individuals. Because the goalposts keep moving. The dream promises, once you get X, you'll feel satisfied. But when you get X, there's always Y. And when you get Y, there's Z. And you never, ever arrive. It individualizes systemic problems. This is the most important function. The American dream takes structural issues: globalization, deindustrialization, automation, monopoly power, political corruption, rising costs, wage suppression, and says, those aren't the problem. You are the problem. It turns systemic failures into personal responsibilities. Can't afford a house? You should have saved more. Drowning in student debt? You should have chosen a cheaper school. Can't find a good job? You should have studied something useful. Can't pay for healthcare? You should have found a better job. And on and on and on. The dream is a deflection mechanism. It points the finger away from power and toward the powerless, away from policy and toward the person. It keeps people in the game. As long as people believe success is just one step away, they keep going. They keep working. They keep hoping. They keep playing by the rules. Even when the odds are shrinking. Even when the deck is stacked. Even when the math doesn't work. Because giving up on the dream feels like giving up on yourself. And for most people, that's unthinkable. So here's the truth. No, the American dream is not completely fake. Some people do rise. Some people do succeed. Some people do build wealth and stability. But it's not what you were told. Here's what the American dream actually is. It's a possibility, not a guarantee, not a promise, not a predictable outcome of hard work. Possibility, that depends on timing. When you were born matters enormously. Location, where you grew up, predicts your income. Access, who your parents were, what networks you had. Luck, being in the right place at the right time. Circumstance, what the economy was doing when you entered it. Identity, how the system treats people like you. Hard work matters. But it's one variable among many. And over the past 50 years, the other variables have become much more important. What the data actually says. Let me give you some numbers that should change how you think about success. Social mobility. A child born in the bottom 20% of income in America has a 7.5% chance of reaching the top 20% in Canada. That number is 13.5%. In Denmark, it's 12%. The American advantage in opportunity is gone. Wealth inequality. The top 10% of Americans own 67% of the wealth. The bottom 50% own 2.5% in 1980. The ratio of CO to worker pay was 30 to 1 today. It's over 300 to 1. The Great Gatsby curve. There's a well-documented relationship between inequality and mobility. Higher inequality equals lower mobility. America is the most unequal wealthy country in the world, and also has the lowest mobility. These are not separate facts. They're connected. What this means for you. Once you understand all of this, you stop chasing a promise and start analyzing reality. You stop asking, am I working hard enough? And start asking, is this system designed to give me what I'm working for? What are the actual conditions I need to succeed, and do I have them? Am I playing a game I can win, or am I running on a treadmill? If the rules aren't working for me, should I change my strategy, or question the rules? This isn't cynicism. This isn't giving up. This is seeing clearly. And seeing clearly is the first step to doing something different. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. The American dream didn't disappear. It changed. But the story didn't change with it. The post-war version of the dream, the one with the house, the car, the pension, the 2.5 kids, that version depended on conditions that no longer exist. A one-in-a-century economic moment. Massive government investment. Limited global competition. Exclusion of entire groups. That era is over. But the story kept playing. And that's why millions of people feel like they're falling behind. In a race they were told was fair, but was never equal to begin with. The real American dream. So what should the American dream actually be? Not a house. Not a specific lifestyle. Not a status marker. But something simpler. The ability to live a stable, dignified life, regardless of where you start. To have Affordable housing. Healthcare that won't bankrupt you. Education that opens doors without closing others. Work that pays enough to live on. Time to spend with people you love. The chance to retire with dignity. The hope that your children will have these things too. That's not too much to ask. That's the baseline. And the fact that it's become so hard to achieve isn't because you didn't try hard enough. It's because the system changed. And the story lied to you about what was possible. The American dream still exists. Just not in the way you were taught to believe. And the moment you realize that is the moment you can finally start building something real.